Here are 9 outlaw animals that give both the police and the justice system a run for their money. Number 9. The kangaroo harassing women. Kangaroos are 9 feet tall and 145-pound demons, and are known not only for their ability to punch insolent humans who think they're cute, but also for their obsession with sexual domination that can extend to human women. And this is not a joke. A kangaroo with vicious urges has been hitting on women in Australia's Northern Territory. And by hitting on them, you can imagine that I mean violently harassing them. The testimony of one of these women under cover of anonymity, and we understand it, said, "It started to turn around me. There was no doubt about what it wanted, this old pervert." Obviously, kangaroos are not the type of mate this woman wants in her life, so she yelled at this overgrown bunny to go on somewhere, but go ahead and try to say no to something over 7 feet tall and see how it goes. The kangaroo was so excited that it did not stop and chased her twice. Then on another day, this same villain spotted another 23-year-old woman who was walking around and chased her too. This woman tells us that she turned around after a suspicious feeling and saw this monster standing on its 2 legs looking straight at her soul. She then started to run away screaming for help, but one must remember that a kangaroo can reach 43 miles per hour, so it caught up with her in like 2 seconds, stood up, and then stopped to look around for witnesses. The woman then resumed her race for survival, terrified of being crushed by this public menace. A man nearby heard the whole thing and tried to intervene, but the kangaroo made quick work of him, starting by punching his head before throwing him savagely against a fence to make him understand that he was too weak to do anything and that he had better calm the heck down immediately if he did not want to prematurely join his ancestors in heaven. Anyway, the kangaroo then ran away from the whole mess, and no other such incident was reported in the area, or so we think. Number 8. The Stalker Frog. An Englishman surprises us with his stupidity, because in 2014, this inhabitant of Crawley in England called, completely pissed off, the city council of the city to ask for the immediate arrival of the police to get rid of not a human intruder, but of a frog that supposedly harassed him. You can imagine that this guy had a hard time making his complaints credible, especially since the police asked him, I don't know, was the frog poisonous or at least threatening in any way? Nah, the frog simply came in and stayed at the bottom of his residence's stairs and was watching for him as he passed by on his way home, and every time he opened his door to see if he was still there. The victim asked the city council to send a special pest control unit to remove the frog, but his call was ignored. The guy was close to calling the army. When asked about the situation, a city council spokesman said, "We informed him that it would probably go away on its own, but he was adamant that the frog was harassing him." No word from our poor Englishman after he hung up while screaming profanity. Go figure if the frog left or if it got into the man's house to take care of that snitch. Number 7. The Oscar for the biggest snitch is awarded to parrots. In Mexico City, a guy named Guillermo Reyes was driving around in his blue Chevrolet with his pet parrot in the great and sunny day when Guillermo stopped at a local police checkpoint. The parrot, which must know damn well the ravages of drinking and driving, seized this opportunity and snitched on Guillermo right away, shouting, "Rat, he's drunk!" in Spanish without stopping. The police officers then approached the car looking for who had just said that, and when they spotted the parrot, kinda laughed, but the parrot wasn't stopping. Amused by the bird, but without losing sight of their mission, they tested the alcoholism levels of Guillermo, and, you guessed it, positive. The police took them both away and put them together in a cell until Guillermo got sober. Frankly, GG the parrot. Drink or drive. You have to choose, people. Number 6. The Squirrel Trolls sent to heaven by an American cop. A squirrel broke into a store in Tennessee, USA, and decided to troll everyone. It was running around full speed all over the place, and no matter how hard the employees tried to get it out of the store, they just couldn't because the squirrel was way too sneaky and fast. Since they were running out of options, they called the local pest control, but the person in charge was not available. Along comes the dumb villain of the story, Police Officer Jody Putnam. As you know, some members of the American police force are known to shoot first and think later. So instead of just trying to get the animal out, a whole mess was about to be created. Cop versus rabid squirrel. Get ready! In order to control the increasingly agitated squirrel, Officer Putnam first used pepper spray, except that there were still employees and some passers-by in the store, so everyone got intoxicated and had to come out crying and coughing like crazy. Only the squirrel and the policeman were left, and as the only peaceful technique he knew was exhausted, his empty brain said to himself, what better way than to take out his service pistol? Bang, bang, bang! No one counted the number of shots Officer Putnam fired at the squirrel, but eventually they heard a high-pitched noise, and then upon entering after a long silence, they found the proud officer who had crushed the now dead squirrel under his shoe. Congrats! Much talent, wow. Anyway, Officer Putnam was fired by the local police department, which was too ashamed from the bad publicity it got. Number 5. A dog carjacking. John Costello was the victim of a real carjacking by his 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy named Rosie, which, according to the police, would have driven without his license. What the hell am I reading? The incident occurred after Costello wanted to take Rosie out for a ride. As they were about to leave, Costello got into his car and started the engine. And then Rosie decided to have a good laugh. She jumped in the car at once and hit the gear shift while putting the car in first gear. The car then sped up and she fell on the gas pedal. As you can imagine, it was an uncontrollable straight line. Rosie impossible to dislodge because she was full-blown panicked, and John having at the same time to maneuver the car not to hit a pole, he played with the gearbox and the steering wheel not to find himself in the mud. But Rosie was also in front of the brake, so the accelerating car had then no other choice than to finish right in the pond of Bolivar, not very far from the residence of John. The police who got in pursuit behind the car just before seized John to leave the car, which started to dive underwater. John then returns to try to grab Rosie, which took refuge on the back seat. John finally manages to get Rosie's behind out of the car and took her back to the shore. The car was ruined, but at least the police decided not to pursue her for driving without a license. And that's what really matters here. Number 4. Bears protect the cannabis plantations. Can't believe people are that stupid. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police raided a marijuana operation near Christina Lake, British Columbia. Except that this plantation was clearly ran by mentally ill people who thought, guys, dogs are useless. Let's get some bears to watch the field. During the raid, 5 policemen couldn't believe what they were seeing when they saw a dozen black bears guarding the plants. Now, any of us would be afraid to continue, but you should know that in British Columbia there are 170,000 big, tough, and angry moose and about 150,000 black bears. So don't worry about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They are equipped with strong men and women who are not afraid of anything, especially since they quickly understood that the bears were tame and far too used to humans to be scary. That's the problem. It's good to have black bears to watch out for intruders, but if these black bears associate humans with food because the owners feed them, well, the plan will quickly fall apart. In short, except for one bear who went on one of the police cars to take a sunbath, nothing happened. For more details, the owners got double charged for both illegal cultivation of marijuana and for giving food to wild black bears, which is strictly prohibited by law. Number 3. The evil and biting toilet fox. What do you do if you go to the toilet, but as soon as you drop your pants, a fox comes, say while violently charging at you? This is what happened to Anthony Schofield, a 49-year-old Englishman who lived in London and was at home. He went to the toilet, took down his underwear, was comfortable, and then he saw a fox enter the toilet and jump him without any respect for his privacy. Our guy Anthony then jumped up and tried to push the fox away. The fox ran away and saw Anthony's 14-year-old cat's ugly face and attacked it. Instead of attacking the fox, Anthony tried to grab his cat and was bitten on the wrist. Even though Anthony wasn't weak, he still couldn't open the jaw of the fox, which kept biting him. The fox was shaking his wrist to try to hit the cat behind. Anthony's girlfriend, Tammy Chappell, then tried to at least save the cat, but the fox bit her finger in a quick motion. Finally, being smart, Anthony then ended up grabbing the fox by the collar and sent it flying into his garden before it ran away. He had entered through the bay window while Tammy was cooking dinner. With a huge 2-inch wide wound on his wrist that ended up being broken, Tammy's finger lacerated, and the cat's butt bloody from the bite, it's a crazy day that unfolded for our guy Anthony, who basically just wanted to relieve himself in peace. Number 2. The Drunken Wild Pig. What happens when a wild pig drinks 18 beers and decides to square up with everything that moves? A wild pig, nicknamed Swino, stole and drank 18 cans of beer left unattended by campers at a rest area in Australia. After getting drunk, the wild pig went to trash the camping site and then saw a cow in the next field and decided to go next to it, being like, "What's up, fool?" Because the cow must have looked at the pig the wrong way. Except that the cow made him understand who's the real boss around here, because campers located not far away saw the cow running after the wild pig all around their car. Scared of being crushed by a 1,300-pound angry cow, annoyed that it was being insulted by a disrespectful pig, it ran around the car before fleeing towards the river and crossing it to escape. Blacked out from the alcohol, it ended up fainting on the ground. The police were alerted and moved heaven and earth to find it before receiving a call from a truck driver who had been in an accident with a wild pig that died on the spot. The marks behind its ears betrayed the fugitive, so Swino ended up in a road accident whose primary cause was alcohol. Rest in peace, Swino, you legend. Number 1. The testicle biting dog. You're handicapped. You wake up and then your dog eats your genitals. What do? A 39-year-old man living in the US woke up one morning to find his dog eating his balls. The man is paralyzed from the waist down and had adopted a feral dog 3 weeks before in order to get a loving and faithful companion. Huge mistake. He woke up and felt a burn in his stomach. His dog was between his legs, covered in blood. As he tried to figure out what was going on, he realized that the evil dog was literally chewing on a ball while he was sleeping. The man was rushed to the hospital without much hope for his probably lost ball, and the dog was inevitably removed from the list of the living by the authorities for this incomprehensible crime. Always remember that wild animals animals are just that. Beautiful and cute, sure, but also unpredictable.